It's a dangerous business going out of your door. You step out onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no telling where you might be swept off to. Many of us yearn to travel, to go somewhere we have never been before, to experience new things, to meet new people, and maybe even have a modest adventure or two. This desire to expand our frame of reference is an innate part of being human. Pilgrimage is one expression of such feelings and is a practice found in many religions. A pilgrimage is more than just a physical journey. It is a spiritual journey both towards a place of significance as well as a journey within ourselves. The greater purpose of a pilgrimage is the journey of self-discovery that almost always seems to take place. In the Christian tradition, there are many different pilgrimage routes across the world. Some of you may have walked parts of the Camino across northern Spain. Here in New Zealand, many have travelled to Oihi in the Bay of Islands to visit the site of the first Christmas service held in Aotearoa in 1814. But the greatest Christian pilgrimage has always been to visit the Holy Land, to walk in the same pathways that Jesus might have walked in. Christian theology has long affirmed that God can be encountered here and now, that there is really no need to go anywhere in search of God. And yet, despite this, Christians over the centuries have continued to vote with their feet by travelling to the place where it all happened. At one level, I agree that God can be seen and felt here and now. And yet, I have done what millions of others have done before me. I have travelled to Israel, Palestine, to visit the places where Jesus lived his life. Why go all that way? After all, most of the holy sites lack credibility. Some have likened them to second-century tourist traps rather than places that actually mark the locations where Jesus truly did or said things. Skepticism is certainly one of my travelling companions. So why go? Well, more than anything, I wanted to experience the story of Jesus that I have known my entire life in the place where it actually happened, to see if it changed my understanding of the story. And while I am sceptical of the authenticity of many holy sites, that does not change the fact that millions of pilgrims have visited them over the centuries. I wanted to enter that experience as best as I could. In modern-day Bethlehem, in the West Bank, stands the Church of the Nativity, claimed to mark the exact spot of Jesus' birth. Now that's a bold claim. I'm not sure I could mark the exact spot where my two daughters were born, and it was only just the other side of the city at Auckland Hospital. I might remember vaguely the floor, but I certainly couldn't remember which room it took place in. I remember entering the Church of the Nativity and noticing the worn stones on the floor, and finally going down into the small dark room that is claimed to be the place where Jesus was born. On the ground is a silver star marking the exact spot, or so it's suggested. Tucking my scepticism into my back pocket, I knelt before that spot and did say a prayer or two, like so many millions of pilgrims before me. Is it the place that really matters? At one level, no. It doesn't really matter whether this was the place or not. At another level, the Church of the Nativity is special because it has helped millions of pilgrims connect more deeply with the Christmas story. Sadly, this Christmas, most of the celebrations at the Church of the Nativity have been cancelled or significantly scaled back. That is one of the impacts of the last 2 years of violence that have taken place in that part of the world. But hopefully, if all goes to plan, in about 10 hours from now, if it's safe enough, a smaller, quieter midnight mass will take place in Bethlehem, in the place that marks where the Christmas story began. When we tell the story of the Nativity, as we did here earlier tonight, particularly at our children's service, when we sing carols, think about angels, shepherds, and magi, we often forget that Jesus was not just born in a physical location, but he was also born into a political climate. Jesus was born a Jewish person under the occupation of the Roman Empire. Jesus was born a peasant among people with few rights and little freedom. This was the context in which God chose to enter our human reality. God became one of us in a place of injustice and oppression, because God chooses to enter the places in our world in the greatest need of transformation. This is not simply coincidence. 2,000 years and a bit more later, if God were to be born again tonight, perhaps the location would be the same. But maybe this time, Jesus would be born a Palestinian. Or maybe Jesus is born this night in Sudan, where millions are displaced by a conflict the world has largely forgotten. Or maybe in Ukraine, or even to a family in our city, spending this Christmas without a home. When we place ourselves within the Christmas story, we often make the mistake of thinking that if Jesus was born this night, he would be born into a place like this, among people like us. But that is not how God entered the world. God did not come to a place of safety. But this does not mean we don't have a place in the story. Maybe we are the ones who must look for signs of God's action from a distance, like following a star in the heavens. Maybe we are the ones who must go looking for the places in which Christ is born. Perhaps it is our job to find gifts fit for a newborn king. And I'm not just thinking of material gifts, although that may well be part of what we can give to a world experiencing war, famine, and other forms of deprivation. There are even more basic gifts that some parts of the world long for: safety, shelter, freedom from oppression. These are the gifts that need to be shared throughout our world, because these are the gifts that God asks us to bring to the Prince of Peace. It is Christmas Day. Have a wonderful, joy-filled Christmas, and may you find the newborn Christ in unlikely places.